morning, MDRT! Our opening speaker today specializes in individual and organizational change.
I was always ashamed to call myself a motivational speaker because it's a bit of a funny job title, isn't it?
He will take us with him on his journey across the Sahara Desert.
Most time in my speech, I'm just trying to plow through it, right? It's okay, now coming up to the next part, oh, that's the desert part, or that's the next joke.
A journey that became a metaphor for his message of change.
And I don't really, for the most part, care what happens. I want them to like it, but, I don't care if they do anything different in their life.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Donahue.
Oh, God.
We are going to start this story in the middle of the Sahara Desert. I want you to imagine that you and your friend are right here. You are stranded. You have no vehicle. All you have is a small campsite and a campfire. And that last little bit of light that remains, you see off in the distance someone approaching you. And I should tell you that in the Sahara Desert, when someone approaches, you pay attention. Now you can tell by his long blue robes and his graceful movements across the sand that this person is a nomad, a tribe known as Tuareg. And you know, because you've done your homework, that underneath those robes he carries a 10-inch dagger that is designed primarily for piercing human flesh. And then the Tuareg nomad appears out of the darkness of the desert night and asks for salt and asks for pepper, and then he says, "Venez avec moi, come with me," and he disappears. What if this is the oldest trick in the Tuareg Book of Ambushes? Think about it. What would you have done? And by show of hands, how many of you would like to know what my friend and I did? We'll get into that a little bit later. That's not bad. I've been telling that story for 33 years. That's not bad. And I told that story again and again and again and again. And then one day, I realized I no longer had any memory of the actual experience that I was talking about. I started to hate my job. It was the same thing every day. It was like Groundhog Day. Alarm would go off in a hotel room. I'd sit bolt upright like this, get dressed, go downstairs to a room like this, give the same speech, come back. Went on and on and on. And I tried to change. I wanted to change. I wanted to fix it. I didn't know how to do it. I only had one story. I mean, it was embarrassing. I'm a motivational speaker, and I can't change. I never planned to cross the Sahara Desert. I was 20 years old. It was 1976. I am completely unprepared for this experience, especially when it comes to the clothing that I've brought with me. There's a road that goes partway across the Sahara Desert, and then it just ends. You aren't anywhere. And eventually everyone gets stuck, and when you get stuck, you hope some guy comes along to give you a push wearing really tight white shorts, just like mine. The Sahara changed my life because at the young age of 22, 1978, I knew what my destiny was. I moved to Toronto, and in 1978 became a professional disco dance teacher. Well, of course, disco died, right? Disco died without any warning. I had a plan B. It was called Cha-Cha. And I'd always had a passion for showing off, being the center of attention, being up in front of people. So I decided my compass was to perform, and I started performing stand-up comedy. And I learned something very important performing stand-up. Be funny. Anyways, I moved on. Someone said, Steve, you should be a motivational speaker. I said, oh, great. And I started to do motivational speaking. And it was perfect because somehow I could be funnier there than I could in a nightclub. And I didn't really have a message. I just liked being up in front of people, everyone paying attention to me. And I had a story. I had a great story, though. I had the story of the Sahara Desert. And I told that story, and I became, well, sought after as a speaker. You know, let's face it, I did my job good enough to keep a job. I mean, you've probably all been there. Sometimes people would come up to me afterward and say, Steve, that speech was amazing. I think it's changed my life. And I'm thinking, repeat it back to me then. What part worked? The thing that I've been doing for at least the last 15 or 20 years, it's like somehow it's done. It's not going to work anymore. I can't pull it off. Went on and on and on. Finally, I thought, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to get a new career. And I decided I would write a self-help book on, yes, you guessed it, how to change. I don't really know what's next. I think I'd like to be a writer, but what's that mean? I mean, how would I do that? The last time I wrote a book, it was I mean, okay, here's the point. I wrote a book. My experience of writing a book was that it was hell. I mean, I loved writing the book. Okay? I loved writing the book. And I was really pleased with the result. And then it became hell. Now, Shifting Sands came out, and I had a very aggressive plan. Plan was, I borrowed $100,000, and the reason for that was to buy 10,000 copies of my book, and then I was going to spend the rest of the money to hire one of the best book publicity firms in North America, basically get me on Oprah. This is my plan. Okay, so fast forward 6 months down the road, I have sold the grand total of 200 copies of my book in Canada. It's a complete failure. It's a complete failure. I file for bankruptcy. I get back on the speaking circuit because I have no other way to sell those 10,000 books. We're not talking Groundhog Day, we're talking Groundhog Decade. And I've just been doing the same speech and selling the book. Now in that last little bit of light that remains, you see way off in the distance someone approaching you. I should tell you that in the Sahara Desert, if someone approaches, you pay attention. Eventually, everybody gets stuck. When you get stuck, you just gotta hope someone comes along to give you a push. When the road ends, the journey begins. Thanks very much. You're welcome. Charles, hello. Hello. How are you? You know, I've talked about 3 ways to follow your compass. Do what you love to do. Be yourself. And give your gift. If you do these things, it strengthens the signal your compass sends you. Then you are better prepared to make a big decision and head in the right direction when your very destiny is at stake.
the night.
Good.
They will know tomorrow.
That's a good spot. There's a lot of reasons why I've come to the Sahara, and I don't know if any of them will turn out to be the real reason that I came. But I do know that I want my life to change. I want my work to change. And I hope somehow I find that here. How do I find that in the desert? I'm here. I made it back. What I'm hoping to find right now is peace. I don't know why I think I'm going to get it here. Why to come back here to this place that was anything but peaceful the first time I was here. I think it's good to come here without actually knowing what I'm going to get. Watching the Tuaregs, I'm thinking, maybe the whole point is that I simply need to live when I go home more like a Tuareg. I mean, it's interesting. People think nomads are constantly on the move. They're actually not. They'll spend 3 or 4 months within one spot, just stay there. Compared to how much I'm everywhere, moving around, getting on a plane, flying, coming home, unpacking, never unpack. That's my life. That's what we'd call nomadic, but it's not at all. It's nuts. Nomadic life is actually very rooted in a place. And they spend so much time together, they don't do anything alone. All I do is on my own. My computer, my speeches, my work, my travel. They take their time. I mean, they can move quickly when they want to, but they don't have that sense of hurry. I look like I'm calm, but inside I'm hurried all the time. And they laugh. Maybe that's it. Maybe there's not some big answer I come back with, but like that's the compass, you know, the compass that guides the decisions I make about who I am and how I want to live my life. That I need to have that soul, the soul of a Tuareg. It's silent here. It seems older, like the whole Hogar Mountains are this sanctuary, sacred place, and that it feels like as we're crossing this pass here, then we're in. And it, you know, it just feels like I've come home in some way, you know, like I've come back. Really, is what I've done. I've been waiting a long time to do this, just to sit right here. I don't even need to watch the sunset, you know? Okay.
هذه المازوت ما فيها كاع قلت لك بيرمل شعلته ماشي والو ما فيها الضوء التريسيسي ما فيها كاع هذه لقيتها طالعه هنا استنى ولا هنا فوق هنا طابت هذه صافي نسوالو هيك اللي في هذا اللي في شموله كانوا مخيلين بنيه
This is maybe the most beautiful place that I've ever been in my life. It's like, I don't know, people make bucket lists. I don't make them, but this should be on the list. To come to these dunes in the Sahara, to see this, to travel to this place.
Ça commence. La terre bouge, ça commence.
I wonder if the reason I came here was for what happened last night. I told the Tuaregs this whole story, the same story I've been telling for 20 years. I told it last night to the Tuaregs. And they know the people who I'm talking about. They know them. They know the place. And when I finished telling the Tuaregs about that event in my life, it was this amazing feeling of like a circle closing. You know, I'd had this experience, and I've been telling everyone. I wrote it in my book. I've just taken that story everywhere. And then last night, it's like I gave it back. In a way, it was to thank them when I told this story. Because let's face it, I've created a life, a career. I've fed my family from a story, a very simple evening that I had with Tariq. The same kind of evening we have every night now, I had by chance as a young man. After that, I felt at peace now.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
That's a good birthday cake.
It's fun being a grandpa. I highly recommend it. Hey, Nick. Yeah, he's a good boy. I don't know what's coming next, but it feels to me like I've squeezed through the gap, like the psychological gap that I've been banging up against for the last probably 10, 15 years almost.
I was afraid he was going to do that.
So that's kind of where I am now. I'm going to run around less. I'm going to sit still more. I'm going to let it come to me. And I'm going to maybe, in effect, live the story that I told more so than tell the story that I told.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Steve Donahue.
Your talk today not only were we entertained and enlightened, but we ended up with a wonderful message about lessons in life.
Follow a compass, the places you arrive at will be way better than any destination you could have found on a map. For the next couple of days, let go of that map. Head into uncharted territory. This is where things really get interesting. One day, I get this email from my publisher. They've sold the rights for my book to a Korean publisher. And not only that, the Korean publisher has sold 80,000 copies of my book. Korea. I mean, I didn't even know exactly where it was. You know, I have absolutely no idea why my book is a bestseller in Korea. So I've decided to go there. I'm going to Korea because apparently I did something really good there. I just don't know what it was.
그렇게도 그리운 정 파도 속에 남기고 울 수 없는 사연 괴로웁니다. 추억은 영원한데 그런 이별은 괴로움에 파도만이 울고 가네.
And then here we have the bestsellers.
Well, how high of a position did my book have at any point?
I think Shifting Sands was in top 10.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Top 10. That's fantastic. It's pretty nice, eh? I really wish I could have been here when it was crazy.
Next time.
I would love to see that. Here I am. Many. We have many.
어디 있어요? Where?
Okay, lots.
Okay.
Did I finish? I would say 200 people came up in a swarm wanting to get their pictures taken with me.
K-A-N-G.
They had this line. They were fighting with each other to get a picture with me.
Five read your book.
Yeah? Oh, good.
You should read more books.
And it was a mob scene. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I took that as a good sign. So I got myself into this thing in Korea, and it's starting to take on a life of its own. And I'm freaking out. Because I know the image they have of me is not the image I have of myself. They think that I actually know something. Everyone has a campfire in their life.
모든 사람들은 자기 인생에 캠프파이어를 가지고 있습니다.
But sometimes you have to step away from your campfire.
하지만 때때로 여러분들은 이 캠프파이어에서 한 발짝 뒤로 물러서셔야 돼요.
My campfire is North America. Coming to Korea for me was stepping away from my campfire. But here, because I've done that, I've received so much. I have made friends. So much has happened for me because I have come here.
그건 바로 제가 캠프파이어를 떠났기 때문에 가능했던 겁니다. 감사합니다.
Hello. My name is Seokgyun Hong. S-E-O-K.
Yes?
E-O-K.
석?
M.
M.
항삼.
ang. H. Y. 안봉숙.
The thing that Koreans will never get is that I'm getting as much from them. That completely stuns me. That's the only way I can actually come here, you know? I couldn't come here just to give something. But they would never believe how much I get from them. From that look in their eyes, you know, when they want their book signed. I can't believe it, really. That somehow, at this point in my life, I found Korea.
This is like a treasure chest. This is all the business cards from the people that, well, some of them want to go to the Sahara Desert. Look at that. There must be 100 business cards here. This person gave me this whole, she wrote a little note. Her phone number, I want to go desert, she wrote. Hi, nice to meet you. Park Sang-jun is my name. I'll step away from my campfire after 6 months. First off, my God. Need your advice. Oh my God. I don't know what I've gotten myself into. I've never really wanted to be some kind of savior or guru. It's just like, you know, they're really looking for something, you know, someone to, I mean, it's such simple stuff. You know, I just try to do my own thing and you know, do what I feel in my heart. And it just appears that it's such a difficult thing for Koreans to do, you know. They get, no, this is the way. Be careful not to be different. I mean, that's my whole thing. My whole thing is to be different. Their whole thing is not be different. I mean, that's the thing. I think that's the whole thing. What I've discovered about Korea is that I feel appreciated here. I've decided to write another book. A book just for Koreans.
Narrative nonfiction books from abroad,
Yeah.
they don't sell that much. Usually they don't. And this is actually one of the first. We are very happy to have you as our author.
Well, thank you very much, because in America and in Canada, it did not have the same welcome.
How was it in the US?
Maybe 2,000 copies. Yep. But in Korea,
Yeah.
it was received so well.
The editor who worked on this didn't do the book exactly as the US edition. She arranged, put something that might
Chapters?
interest a Korean more, put she in front,
Beautiful.
and yes, she changed the order. She put quite a lot of effort in this, so it's one of the reasons why we have this huge success with it. Okay.
Wow. So, I guess the question is,
Question is,
can we do it again?
can we do it again? We are quite very conservative when it comes to a second book.
Oh.
Because when we have a huge success with the first book, the second book becomes easily a flop. When it comes to second book, we have to go beyond. What kind of book it will be? Will it be a self-help book? Will it be a travelogue again?
I just think of myself as a guy that's got one story. I'm looking for a new story. How do I tell them that? I'm here because I want a new story. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in Korea. How the fuck did this happen? Let me out of here. Let me out of here. Not until you finish the book. Right now I'm on a coastal ferry and I'm going to a little island called Uido. And Uido is a sand dune island. So because of the Sahara Desert, I thought it'd be nice to be on a sand dune again. Since I've arrived here, I've started to do some writing for my new book. Being here has helped me get a sense for the depth of Korea and for the soulfulness of this land. 안녕하세요. 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 All right. Oh, easy open, that's good. That's good. She's cold. It's not cold. 감사합니다. 고맙습니다. 안녕하세요. You're such a sweet guy. While I've been here, I think I'm starting to feel the depth of my own story, the life I've lived, and how it connects to Korean culture and their yearning to be more individualistic. I guess I'm wondering, how do I move forward with a new book? The first book I wrote was about a story I knew because it was an adventure I had done. But now I don't have another adventure to speak about. It has to just come from myself. So do you have any ideas for me?
Yeah, I have a very clear idea. The way to give peace or happiness to the people is not outside. Go back to your center and meditate deeply. Then when you're becoming same center of all beings, young generation, all generations, then you can find out your own creation and you can unleash the very fresh idea to all directions from your heart.
I was really touched when the monk said to me that it was my destiny to come to Korea. And to have a Buddhist monk look at you and tell you what your destiny was, for me, I just felt like that's what I've been wondering. There was a reason for me to come here. And I feel encouraged by him to pay attention and focus on working with the young people as well. So somehow after we're done, I just feel a little more solid about why I'm here and more confident I'll understand where I'm going next.
I don't want you to get the idea that if you do the things I talk about, life is suddenly easy. It's also hard to follow your own way that really matters to you. But when I think of my children, and if I would think of you the same way, I would have to suggest that you do it, that you do the thing you're afraid to do, that you can't lose from doing that. And it's very hard to live your life trying to make everyone else happy. You can't make anyone else happy. It's at your own expense. You have to make yourself happy. Thank you. Today's a very big day for me. At 5:54 a.m., I sent the manuscript of my second book to my publisher in Korea. Thank you. Thank you. In Korea, because they believed in me, I began to believe in myself. I began to believe in myself. And then in the Sahara, I put the fire back into my soul because I believe I really am a man of the desert. I traveled a long way. I've been very, very far from this place that I am right now, the place of wanting to be up in front of an audience. But I'm back. Thanks for helping me make it back.
care what happens. I want them to like it, but you know, I don't care if they do anything different in their life.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Donahue.
Oh, God.
We are going to start this story in the middle of the Sahara Desert. I want you to imagine that you and your friend are right here. You are stranded. You have no vehicle. All you have is a small campsite and a campfire. And that last little bit of light that remains, you see off in the distance someone approaching you. And I should tell you that in the Sahara Desert, when someone approaches, you pay attention. Now you can tell by his long blue robes and his graceful movements across the sand that this person is a nomad. He's along to give you a push wearing really tight white shorts, just like mine. The Sahara changed my life because at the young age of 22, 1978, I knew what my destiny was. I moved to Toronto and in 1978 became a professional disco dance teacher. Well, of course, disco died, right? Disco died without any warning. I had a plan B. It was called cha-cha. And I'd always had a passion for showing off, being the center of attention, being up in front of people. So I decided my compass was to perform, and I started performing stand-up comedy. And I learned something very important performing stand-up. Be funny. Anyways, I moved on. Someone said, Steve, you should be a motivational speaker.
Good morning, MDRT! Our opening speaker today specializes in individual and organizational change.
I was always ashamed to call myself a motivational speaker because it's a bit of a funny job title, isn't it?
He will take us with him on his journey across the Sahara Desert.
I was telling in my speech, like I'm just trying to like plow through it, right? It's like, okay, now coming up to the next part, oh, that's the desert part, or that's the next joke.
A journey that became a metaphor for his message of change.
And I don't really, for the most part.
My job, it was the same thing every day. It was like Groundhog Day. Alarm would go off in a hotel room, I'd sit bolt upright like this, get dressed, go downstairs to a room like this, give the same speech, come back. Went on and on and on. And I tried to change. I wanted to change. I wanted to fix it. I didn't know how to do it. I only had one story. I mean, it was embarrassing. I'm a motivational speaker, and I can't change. I never planned to cross the Sahara Desert. I was 20 years old, it was 1976. I am completely unprepared for this experience, especially when it comes to the clothing that I've brought with me. There's a road that goes partway across the Sahara Desert, and that it just ends. You aren't anywhere. And eventually everyone gets stuck, and when you get stuck, you hope some guy comes. A tribe known as Tuareg. And you know, because you've done your homework, that underneath those robes he carries a 10-inch dagger that is designed primarily for piercing human flesh. And then the Tuareg nomad appears out of the darkness of the desert night and asks for salt and asks for pepper. And then he says, Venez avec moi, come with me, and he disappears. What if this is the oldest trick in the Tuareg Book of Ambushes? Think about it. What would you have done?
By show of hands, how many of you would like to know what my friend and I did? We'll get into that a little bit later. That's not bad.
I've been telling that story for 33 years.
That's not bad.
And I told that story again and again and again and again. And then one day I realized I no longer had any memory of the actual experience that I was talking about. I started to hate